This story is brought to us by abc30.com out of Fresno, California. Now, what happens when an officer stops somebody that's not a police officer that is publicly intoxicated and has controlled substance on them, whether it's weed or methamphetamine or heroin, anything like that? What does the officer do? Well, he arrests them. But what happens when the officer is in that situation? Well, they found out a sergeant with the Fresno County Sheriff's Office was intoxicated in public with a controlled substance over the weekend, according to the Clovis Police Department. Now, 52-year-old Thomas Griglione was arrested for drunk, disorderly conduct and possession of a controlled substance. Witnesses say he was at Neighbor's Tap and Cookhouse at Fowler and Nice in Clovis. That's Clovis, California. They say he was harassing customers and staff before an employee asked him to leave. When he didn't leave, the Clovis police were called. Now, a witness took a cell phone video of him sitting outside with Clovis officers. He calls the woman filming the video names while he sits and answers the officers' questions. And they always do that. You'll sit in there, "Why are you filming me, man? F you." And then the cops start arresting him and they go, "What are you arresting me for, man? This is no way." Well, that's why I'm recording. Griglione was arrested for drunk, disorderly conduct and being in possession of a controlled substance. We don't know what the controlled substance was, but the arrest log does state it was a narcotic other than marijuana. And in that area, it could have been crystal meth. In that area, that's a big thing out there. Hopefully not fentanyl. But we don't. But he was booked into the jail and sight released on misdemeanor charges, which is the norm for misdemeanors. Griglione has been placed on administrative leave, and an internal affairs investigation is underway. And when they say administrative leave, he's probably on a paid vacation. Bruce Thomas, a retired LA County Sheriff Sergeant with more than 30 years of experience, says the criminal investigation will play a role in the internal investigation. You mean internal justification. That's what you mean. Bruce Thomas said, quote, "One, if he's found guilty, then he's violated the criminal law, and ultimately he's violated internal policies, such as being arrested for a crime. So he ultimately would lose his job." Yeah, until he gets hired somewhere else down the road. He just won't put his crime on there. If found guilty on all charges, Thomas says the district attorney's office or public defenders may call into question cases that he's handled, as well as arrests and reports he's approved that led to prosecution. Thomas says if Griglione is found not guilty, he still may face punishment from the department for being in possession of that stuff. I don't know. If he's found not guilty, how could he be found not guilty? I don't know. If they found it on him, oh, he's a cop. I'm sorry. That's right, he's a cop. Thomas said, "I know there are some things on the video of some rants and some ravings. Once again, conduct unbecoming. He can look at days off, a suspension, which ultimately would be something that would happen, and he'll make it up on overtime." He says, even though he's a veteran officer and the public holds a high standard for him, it's too early to make a judgment on the case. The district attorney's office has not formally filed charges at this point, which is the norm. And Griglione is expected to be in court on August 22nd. And that happens a lot. And I see a lot of YouTube, the First Amendment audit community, where they go to court and they go, the DA didn't file charges. Yeah, nothing. And I'm like, dude, hold on. Because in 2 or 3 months, you're going to get a letter in the mail that says you must appear at your hearing on this date. What I'm saying is, they haven't formally filed charges. That could be because he's a police sergeant and the DA is like, I ain't touching this one. Or it could be because what normally happens in California, I've noticed this. Maybe it doesn't happen in other states. I don't know. But normally what happens is you go to your court date and there's no charges. You're not there. You're not on the law, the docket or anything. And you're like, yeah, see, I'm good. But then you get a letter in the mail about 6 weeks later or 8 weeks later saying you must appear in court for your arraignment on this date. It's because what happens is the officer will give you a court date. Then either the officer will fill out a form, and I've received that form in the mail of that when Officer Michael Rose violated my rights, saying the officer has requested a see, I can't think right now. The officer wants a continuance. So what happens is the officer will file a thing saying my report's not ready, I need a continuance. The DA will say to the court, we're going to move that court date up. So basically you get a new court date like 2 months later, and then the DA files the charges and you go to court. Is that clear as mud? So basically when you get arrested, your court date is January 1st, let's say. And then you'd go there and you're not on the docket. You're like, whew. And then you get a letter in the mail, maybe like February 4th, saying, hey, you got to go to court on March 8th for this charge. And you go, what? But I already went to court and there was nothing. Yeah, because the officer had asked for a continuance and the district attorney or the court, the judge, whoever, moved your court date up. I'm trying to make it clear. But that's what kind of maybe happened here when it says the dick attorney, I almost said, the district attorney's office has not formally filed charges because the officer wants a continuance to get his narrative straight, to write his report out. That's what's happening.